Hey, thank you. Hello, everyone. What I'm going to try to do during the next 20 minutes is to tell you a bit about the rise of urbanization worldwide and how technology is changing our daily lives in response to this massive urban migration. Then I will end my presentation with an overview about Africa and how Africa is different and how we could approach their challenges. So I hope you'll enjoy it. I don't know what you guys were doing on May 23rd, 2007, but this day was made history. It was reported by the UN that half of the population went urban, and this massive migration towards cities is expected to grow to 70% by 2050. If you can see from the slide behind me, they have like the big reds are where the urbanization is going on right now in Europe and America. But if you can see, like below the graph in Africa, it is going to grow as well. And back in time, we can see here that in 1950, the only metropolitan area with 10 million people was New York, and this has been growing as well, and it's about 23 cities around the world who are metropolitan today, and 19 in developing nations. And speaking of developing nations, we have the Global South that also is experimenting this massive urbanization. There we have 60% of its population that will be urban only by 2030. So why this sudden attention towards cities? We could assume three reasons. First, cities generate 80% of global GDP. And second, they consume 75% of the overall produced energy, and they are also responsible of 80% of the overall carbon emissions. Moreover, and beyond the environmental impact, this massive urban population put a huge strain on services such as health, education, water access, electricity, and transportation. For example, in Paris alone, people spent like 4 years of their estimated life looking for parking lots. And the situation is even more urgent in developing nations, where 3 billion of people are living without basic services. So clearly, the need of a new and sustainable model of urban development was pressing. And this new urban model goes by the name of Smart City. So what's a smart city? Since the premises of the movement, many definitions were released in an attempt to define what a smart city is about, but all agree that a smart city is about taking advantage of technology as a tool in order to improve citizens' daily life and build a sustainable future. Maybe you have heard of words such as big data, open data, sensors, Internet of Things, innovation labs, and so forth. And actually, those are the tools that a smart city uses to function in a daily basis. So in brief, a smart city could be a city that observes using captures, sensors in order to collect data. It's a city that understands. Once it collects that data, it's going to process it. And it's a city that predicts, using data modeling, analyzing, and afterwards, using all this collection of data and process and analyzing, it adapts to this to the situation using traditional tools. To demonstrate that, for example, in San Francisco, in order to overcome a traffic jam, they have this navigated system that informs about free parking lots, and the drivers can book beforehand their parking, and it goes ups and down depending on the demand and the supply. Another practice that helped reduce traffic jam is the pay to drive downtown in London. The drivers are now entitled to a fee, about 15 euros a day, if they want to access downtown using their cars. So doing so, both cities have reduced traffic jams, and doing so, they have reduced also carbon emissions. Another example is about energy management, and one example I could think of is in Copenhagen, where they are transforming the lighting system of the city to LED street lights, and this is gonna help them again ensure 65% of energy saving and a subsequent reduction on operational costs. Last two examples about initiatives using technology to improve daily lives is about citizen services. And this time it's in New York City. Wi-Fi towers are taking over all the sidewalks in the city in order to offer fast public Wi-Fi and phone calls. You can use it also to charge your phone if you run out of battery. And also there is this tablet where you can browse the city, neighborhoods, looking for direction or services. And this is actually not making life easier only for citizens, but also for tourists to enjoy the city. And it is at the same time generating money for the city of New York. Another one that is making life easier for citizens is in Montreal. They have this navigated system as well, or application, where you can find or look for the best neighborhood you want to live in. And this actually had a great success, because sometimes newcomers don't know the city. So you just go there and you enter your criteria, and the application just gives you a selection of the right neighborhoods for you. So it's clearly, we can see that if we invest in creative and social capital, and we incorporate data and technology, smart city can foster economic competitiveness, can manage resources and physical infrastructure effectively, and citizens can be engaged in issues of governance. More importantly, is that this technology is bringing a wealth of data to city leaders and to experts in order to better understand the citizens' behavior and be able to bring proactive solutions in the near future instead of reacting. Still, smart city is not a one-size-fits-all model, and this part is about Africa, actually. African leaders are also trying to look into technology and how it could benefit their cities and their citizens. But the thing is, they don't encounter the same challenges. What you should know about urbanization in Africa, I mean, if in Western cities urbanization came after, as a natural process after the Industrial Revolution. So cities was already organized and around services. In Africa, the urbanization is spontaneous, in a sense that farmers are leaving their homes in search of better living and for jobs. So when they go to the city, it creates those slums, and which makes it difficult to access basic services, as job opportunities are very hard to find. Also, smart cities in Western cities were in response to an environmental impact. They were looking for carbon reduction, for solutions to reduce carbon in their cities, while in Africa, they are more looking into how to use technology to improve their infrastructure and actually create more jobs that will help citizens fulfill their basic needs. On the other hand, Africa is today undergoing major political reforms in order to drive foreign direct investments. It's home of the third faster growing economy. And if we look at its population, it's young, and it's an average of 30 years old. They are educated, English speakers, passionate about innovation, and eager for change. There is this rising middle class, which is responsible of 60% of economic growth. That will continue to rise by 5% annually, which is like higher than the global average. Another point that is critical about Africa is that traditional knowledge is a must. I mean, we've seen some examples of initiatives in Western cities, but we cannot just go and take those initiatives and export them to Africa. We really need to understand what's going on out there in order to bring the right solutions. For example, 8 years ago, there was this private initiative that tried to launch, try to overcome traffic jams by launching smart cards that can be loaded and then with money, and then you can use them to commute in those new buses. But the project just failed within months. I mean, what this initiative, this private initiative didn't know is that in Africa, first, cash is more popular, and they have this mobile payment system that is also mobile. They are not used to having cards as a mean of payment. And the other reason of failure was that there was not sufficient education about the new system. So the commuters didn't just trust the new system, and they stuck to what they knew. On the other hand, a local startup that had the needed knowledge about the city and its citizens launched this navigated system to help them commute, and it was just successful. The difference was that she made this application first available for the rich and for the less fortunate, for those who had smartphones and for those who had only regular phones, you know. So it had a great responsiveness in Africa. There was this also this other solution that, as you might know, in Africa, like all over, all the citizens now use their mobile phone, and they have this. They have trouble with the banking system over there is not that popular. So what the telecommunication operator did is that he found a way to create a service where citizens can deposit their money into their phone account, and then using the phone account, they can wire money, shop on the internet, and even companies can wire salaries using this platform. So this is to say is that Africa is undergoing major changes right now, and it's looking into technology to improve its citizens' life, but we still need to know what the citizens really need in order to implement smart initiatives. And this is what we are doing as a Smart Cities Initiative for Africa. We are building a network of ambassadors across major African cities, And using this knowledge and our international network of experts, we work more effectively with the leaders in order to advise about actionable solutions that respond to those needs. So bottom line, urbanization can also be a great development tool for Africa if it is planned properly. And Africa is today a large continent of business opportunities if we take the time to understand what's going on in order to implement the right solutions. And thank you very much.